Today we're going to be making a dark roast coffee. Now we're going to come in and see what our temperature is. Our temperature is at 380 degrees and our master roaster is about to dump it in there. Okay, going to dump the hopper down. Okay, now put the timer in, set the timer. And right now you can see the coffee beans right inside that little hopper right there. Today we're looking for a dark roast. Now we set the timer for a dark roast because today we're going to be going beyond the first crack. We're going to be doing the second crack for a much darker roast today. And it just takes a little time for it to warm up. And always remember, roasting is fun and you will always be amazed how easy it is. Don't be afraid of the crackling coffee beans. Just pay attention to the process, and it will always be fun. Home roasting is especially fun. Some people do it with those popcorn poppers. There's many different ways, and we may be getting into some of that the home methods of roasting as well. Back in Colombia, they do it in a pan early in the morning, right over the wood fire. So there's many unique ways. Those old farmers that harvest the crop have their own way of drinking coffee. So now we're looking at the temperature drop down to about 220, but it's going back up now. And you'll see that we have our fan right here is set about 6 o'clock, and there's our temperature. We have a second temperature right here, which is right here in the drum, reading around 375, and then we have the other one, thermocouple for the temperature on the remote. It's this thermocouple here, heater right in here. The thermocouple in there will read the temperature. Okay. And it's a lot of fun to roast. You have to take your time and never walk away from a roast. Whenever you're roasting, make sure that you always stay close to the machine. You have heat and you have gas, so you're dealing with the machine. You don't ever want to leave the area. Right now, you look at the flame. I'm going to turn the flame up just a little bit right here. Okay? And I'm just going to turn it up a little bit right there to increase the heat on there. We're still going to look for a slow roast. We're still going for a slow roast. But sometimes you have to adjust the heat and the air to be able to make, to get to that darker roast. Now, the machine that we have is a US roaster quart machine. We also have a Vitorino and Probat machine. Those are much higher volumes. Those are for 10 kilos, and the other one is for 30 kilos. We will probably be getting into a roast with those bigger machines as well. And I just wanted to start with the smaller machine and the smaller batches to begin with. And let's see. You will see that the darker roast, you'll see a lot more oils come out of the roast than with the lighter roast. One thing with the darker roast, that the density of the bean becomes less and becomes more brittle. And sometimes if you do overcook it, you'll see shards of the bean breaking off on those darker beans. If you do it with a popcorn popper, if you ever heated up your or roasted your coffee beans with a popcorn popper, you will have seen the charge fly off of the coffee beans because the popcorn popper tends to heat a little bit more rapidly. There's a control on those popcorn poppers that you can actually reduce the voltage to cut down the airflow and the heat on that machine so that you don't have that. Sometimes it'll burn your coffee beans if there's putting too much heat on one of those popcorn poppers. But we're going to try to break this down. You're going to hear 2 cracks on this bean that we're going for. And it just take a little time for us to get there. Alright. Now this machine has an emergency buzzer right here, so once you reach your set temperature of 435, well, the buzzer will go off. It's a very simple machine to use. And all it is just watching it and learning. The more you roast, the better you will be at this. Now you can kind of see, we'll take a look at the beans right now. And they're kind of browning. Kind of browning already. Greenness is already gone off of them. And dump them down. A couple more and see what they look like. And you can. The smell is amazing. The smell is amazing. Roasting coffee is the best smell in the world. And then grinding it is even more spectacular. So drinking it, if you haven't had fresh coffee that was roasted and ground within 2 days, you've never had fresh coffee. The best coffee you can get is when you roast the beans and you grind the coffee yourself and you make the coffee yourself. That is a delicious cup of coffee. Most people think because they go to Starbucks that that's fresh coffee. No, it's just been sitting for a while. Who knows where it's been sitting. But the best coffee you can get, even buy your own green beans. Buying your own green beans is what a lot of people are doing right now because it is easy to do. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun to roast. Just takes a little time. You know, your roasts only go from maybe, some of them go from 9-10 minutes for, you know, a very light roast, and some of them go up until 18, even 20 minutes for the darker roasts. All our coffee comes from Colombia. We get our coffee from the Santander Mountains, which is a little north of Bogota, and also from southern Colombia and in Armenia, and we have the Excelso and the Arabica coffee. We have the two kinds of coffee that are grown at those higher altitudes. The Santander coffee is a great fruity coffee at those high altitudes. Always a lot fruitier and nutty whenever your coffee comes from the higher altitude farms. And our farms that we deal with are small micro farms. You know, we have 14 different micro farms that we deal with, and they all have, you know, small farms, either from 9 acres to 20 acres, 30 acres at the maximum. And this gives them a lot more control and consistency in growing their coffee, and it gives them a better price for their coffee as well when they do take it to market. But finding a specialty buyer sometimes is tricky for them outside of Colombia, and that's why it's always good to go into Colombia and visit the farmers, because they're willing to work with small roasters like ourselves to be able to provide a superior coffee bean than what's out there. And that's what our company typically deals with. We deal with higher quality beans, and you can see the beans themselves are, we will put a few on here. These are the green beans that we're dealing with. And you can tell, you look at the quality of the bean, you're looking for whole beans. Very consistent in size. You don't want any cracks, splits, breaks, debris in there. And you know, there's a lot into looking at a bean. But this bean right here is a very high quality bean that we work with. I can, in one of my next videos, I will probably pull up some of the lower quality beans that I can look for to see what, just to show you the different quality of beans that are available in the market. A lot of the higher quality beans do come from Colombia. Oh, and I think we just heard the first crack. So here you can already see that the coffee is getting a little darker. A little darker, a little more nuttier. And our temperature right now is at 380. First crack typically happens around 380 in this coffee roaster. And each coffee roaster has its own personality. This coffee roaster will cook different then our ProBat coffee roaster, and our Vitorino coffee roaster. They all have their own personalities and what kind of coffee you're cooking. This little roaster is pretty good for just about anything. The darker and the lighter roast. However, we have the Vitorino coffee machine that is very good for those dark roasts, very dark roasts. And it's a mechanical machine, and our ProBat has a little bit more controls on it to be able to consistently run a batch of coffee through the roaster. Now you can hear the first crack, the first crack happening. Now don't be afraid of the first crack, or any of the cracks. Now the alarm just came on. We're going to turn the alarm off because the temperature reached 400. And then we're just going to wait here. What is our timer at, Robert? Take a look at the beans. Okay. We're at 10.5 minutes. So we're looking at maybe a short roast on this one, even though it's going to be a darker one. You see, there's going to be a shorter roast. You can already see the coffee beans and the darkness of them already. We're going for a little darker roast this time. And right now, what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to turn the heat down a little bit. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit right here on the control. And the automatic machines have the ability to regulate that gas valve based on a profile of coffee that you're running for the day. Now here we can already hear that the first crack has already finished, and we're kind of looking at the darker beans right in there right now. So we're getting pretty close, Robert Ray. You're gonna take a look at them and see what, you let us know when you want to pull that. That's for a dark roast. So we're looking for a roast that's gonna match something like these beans right here, okay? That's a dark roast right there, okay? You got a little ways to go. That's a light roast, okay? And that's all you do is the roast, the light, medium, and dark roast is just based on the amount of time that you're roasting the coffee for. Very simple to do. Let's see, take a bean. There, now we hear the second crack. This is the second crack now that you're hearing. It's a much lighter crack, but you're still looking at a very dark bean. Now, as soon as that second crack forms, in about 30 seconds, we're probably going to dump it. Okay, so we're pretty close to dumping it. You can actually hear that second crack is a little more rapid than the first crack. Kind of see those beans jumping around. They're a little dark right now, and you can hear it cracking quite a bit. Don't be afraid of that crack. Just hit one more, Robert Ray, and see how dark that is. Let's see, is that dark enough for you?
A little bit more.
A little bit more, maybe just a few seconds more, and then he's going to dump this out, okay? And let's see one more time. Okay, it's a nice brown color. Do it another 5 seconds, and then dump it out, okay? One more time. Yeah, I think you're ready. Okay, we're ready. It's going to dump it. The smell of that coffee is just delicious. Oh, you can still hear it popping. Now underneath here, we have a fan that will extract the heat from this tray that it is. So up until the point that that there is no more heat on the beans are still cooking. Okay, we're going to turn the power off on this machine now because we're basically done with it. And we're just going to take a look at these beans and maybe put them in a pan so you can air them out a little bit with this, maybe the screen. And we'll see if we can, we'll see what it looks like when we grind these as well. Okay, go ahead. Dump them in there. Oh, you can see the steam coming off of those beans. They're beautiful looking beans. That's a beautiful dark roast that his master roaster has produced. As soon as those cool off, we're going to be sticking them in the in the grinder. And that's our video for today.